Mesdames et messieurs, Sam Levinson et toute l'équipe de The Idol. Let me introduce you all. At the very end of the table, we have Monsieur Hank Azaria.
Bonjour.
Next to him, Divine Joy Randolph.
Bonjour.
Monsieur Abel Tesfaye, aka The Weeknd. Next to me, Jane Adams. Lily-Rose Depp. And Monsieur le réalisateur Sam Levinson. All right, guys, we're going to start talking about the show in a second, and I will open the floor to questions. But I want to come back to yesterday night. Your emotion at the end. I saw the footage. I saw you guys right after the screening when there was a standing ovation. You were in tears. I mean, this was very, very touching. So question for all of you. What was the feeling at this moment? What was it?
It's the biggest dream come true. I think we were all very overwhelmed and moved by the response. And, you know, I meant what I said. When I was a kid, I was 10 years old. I remember I didn't know much about world cinema. I didn't know about the Cannes Film Festival, but I knew about Pulp Fiction. And I knew about Tarantino. And the fact that he had won an award for this crazy movie that I wasn't allowed to see until I snuck over to a friend's house, and his mother allowed us to rent it. And through that, I discovered the Cannes Film Festival. I discovered French cinema, world cinema, and I had a dream to come here. And last night was just one of the most moving and emotional experiences I could ever have, and to be here with this cast who I love so deeply, and it meant the world to us. So thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
You guys want to add something to that?
So it's nice that Sam's dreams make our dreams come true as well. I like that.
Lily-Rose?
I second that. This project and these people mean everything to me, and we really have become like a family. And so to be here all together celebrating something that means so much to all of us was like just couldn't have been more special. So thank you for your merveilleux accueil.
Abel?
Yeah, I mean, get to be surrounded with the people that I love. We've been working on this for so long, and you know, a few years ago I used to come to the Cannes Film Festival and watch it from the audience and experience it, and seeing how overwhelmed everybody was. And I would look at them and be like these guys crying. I mean, I can never cry in front of all these people. And then of course, once I looked at Sam and Lily, I fell apart, because I love them. I love everyone involved. And everyone's reaction to it was heartwarming, So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Divine?
I just think that it's really quite special when a TV show gets the opportunity to be on such a renowned and respected platform. It just means so much to even be in consideration, to be allowed to be here. And I just am so grateful for everyone involved, but also to just that we were fearless and that we sought this through from beginning to end, and that you guys saw something in that. It's deeply moving.
It's also really fun. Like, it's super fun here.
As usual, Jane is talking when I'm supposed to talk.
It's my.
It's life imitating art. Yeah, no, I thought everybody was being kind of a big baby, honestly. No, it was very moving. Sam, they all know. Creatively, I was very emotional shooting this. My mom passed away while it happened. They were kind enough to let me out for a week. And then that energy got channeled into this work, and it was one of the most extraordinary experiences I ever had shooting. And we all feel that way about each other, and I think that was part of what was informing those tears last night.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to open the floor. I know there's a lot of questions. Laurent?
Oui, bonjour, Laurent Ganassia de Sinus.fr. Je voudrais poser une question à Lily-Rose que je trouvais patente dans cette série, dans ces 2 premiers épisodes. Je voulais vous demander, dans le film, il y a une phrase qui est très emblématique et qui pourrait être même le sous-titre de la série, qui dit « Quand on est célèbre, personne ne vous dit la vérité ». Alors, je voulais vous demander, vous, Lily-Rose, qui avez été célèbre très très jeune, on ne va pas rappeler vos illustres parents, et qui jouait justement dans cette série une célébrité, comment on arrive à gérer à la fois l'amitié et la vérité quand on est célèbre?
Je réponds en français ou en anglais?
French.
Je peux pas faire les deux, sinon on va y être toute la journée. You know, I think that it's just about the people that you surround yourself with, and that's something that, you know, that we see my character actively dealing with in the show, is struggling with the people that she's keeping around her and wondering if they're telling her the truth, if they have her, you know, best intentions at heart, and you know, wondering what they really want for her and what they want for themselves out of it, and kind of, you know, we see her struggling with that kind of dynamic, and I think that, you know, that's something that happens in life as well, and it's all about surrounding yourself with good people. That's why I'm very happy to be here, surrounded by all these wonderful people.
Sam, you guys work together on the genesis, the story itself, and from the beginning. Why? I mean, what's the starting point? Where's the click? Where's the start?
I think I initially wanted to make like a dark, twisted fairy tale with the music industry and everything I know about it, and heighten it and take inspiration from films that both me and Sam love. But it was really both our love for music. When I found out how much Sam is involved with the music in Euphoria, and getting to work with him on the music on the show, I think that's when it really unlocked it for the both of us, that we wanted to really focus on how can we create our own pop star? Can we create somebody who is trying to find themselves, and using my experiences, using his experiences as an artist, using Lily's experiences from her point of view, and just, creating something special, daring, exciting, fun, make people laugh, piss some people off, it's just, yeah, that was the initial thought. And I've always wanted to work with Sam. I mean, we were friends before anything, so, yeah.
You want to add something?
I mean, I saw Abel, I think, perform for the first time at the Hollywood Bowl in 2011 or 12, and I remember seeing him there, and he was standing behind the mic, and he didn't move, and I was captivated by him, and I followed his career, as everyone knows his career, and I was following his career, but I didn't get to see him again live until we were in prep for this show, and I went with him to Coachella. I think he hadn't performed in a couple of years, maybe since the Super Bowl, and I rode up with him. I rode in the car with him. I watched the sort of the focus and the ambition that he has, listening to his set list on the way up, and being in the truth, doing his vocal lessons, and just this drive that he has to entertain and to give people the greatest show possible. And I was out there in the audience, and I remember he said something to me beforehand. He said, "Look, you have to remember, this was a festival that he wasn't initially going to headline, and he signed up for it in the last, it was about a week or two before it was to go on, and he said, this isn't my audience. They're not here to see me, but I'm gonna win them over." And he got up on that stage and he said, it's a tough audience because they've been there for 3 days, they're tired, they want to go home, they got headaches, they're dehydrated. And he went out on that stage, and it was the first song started to play, and I could see people were there, but they weren't totally moving yet. And I watched him as he was just going out, and he just started to work the crowd, and every single person in that crowd, he'd make eye contact. I mean, not obviously every single person, but he was making eye contact, and he was singing. And it was like, by the second song, people started to loosen up. The third song, they just started to give themselves over to the music, to the show, to the performance. And I was watching him on these big monitors, and his face and the charisma and just how much he had grown as an artist from when I first saw him 10 years earlier. And I thought, wow, this is the arc of a career here. And he's only, 32, 33? This is the first act. And I thought if he can do this, if he can go from being this kind of shy kid behind a microphone to this superstar, this on stage, he's got something in him that is 1 in 100 billion. And there was something about that drive, that ambition to win people over, to get them to stop thinking about all of the shit of life, the trials, the tribulations, the work, the family, the kids, all this, and just give yourself over to the music. And it was just an astonishing moment. And I think right there is when it really clicked for me as to what this show is about. It's about the ambition and the drive to be a better artist. And seeing Lily, and I think it's in the, and that's where the kind of the impetus of that opening shot is of this show, is you see this young woman there, and she can laugh, she can cry, she can make you feel anything just in an instant. And I thought, this is a show about a performer. And I love Abel deeply. He's a person of deep integrity. And but I thought, well, this is interesting, because someone who has that power, what if they weren't necessarily using it for good? And that's, I think, how the show really clicked in my head.
We got a question, third row.
Bonjour, sorry for my English, question in French. Jérémy Kiffel, Kiss FM. Ma question est pour Abel, vous incarnez Tedros, et au cours de votre carrière, est-ce que vous avez imaginé du coup Tedros, ou au contraire, vous l'avez déjà croisé, ce Tedros? Merci, bienvenue sur la Côte d'Azur et hâte de vous voir en concert à Nice en juillet prochain.
I'm going to try to understand what you said without the translation.
So the question,
Did I ever encounter anybody like Tedros?
yeah,
Is that what
did
you
you
asked me?
imagine it, or did you ever encounter somebody like him?
Well, Tedros, Tedros was kind of just, when we were first working on it, even when me and Sam were first working on it, he was kind of like a device for Jocelyn. Like, he was almost like an obstacle, almost something that is supposed to, or someone's supposed to bring something out of Jocelyn, and and he's like this dark, like villainous character that you've seen last night. But as we started working on it more and somehow falling in love with this weird character, not to give too much away, but you know, it grew into something else, and so it's hard to pinpoint like exactly the inspiration. But have I encountered anyone like Tedros? I don't fucking think so. No, he's he's pretty.
If you had, I don't think you'd be here.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, thank God. I feel fortunate that I haven't run into anyone like him. But yeah, inspiration. I mean, the first thing I can think about is Dracula. You know, he's just he's Dracula. You know, and he's just luring his what's the character you're actually playing, Lily?
In Nosferatu.
Yeah.
The girl.
The girl.
You know, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the character.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Not to give out any scoop, but he's like luring her, and then just the shot of him, just when the garage door opens, the gate door opens, and it's just like, I couldn't tell if everyone in the theater was laughing because me and Sam and Lily were laughing really hard at that.
The best shot ever.
But right off the top of my head, Dracula. Yeah.
Just to follow up on that,
Go ahead.
I would say that I think when we were trying to figure out exactly who this character is, one of the things that occurred to me is, and I remember we were in Abel's closet, and I was just having him try on different clothes to just get out of himself.
Clothes I never wear, by the way. Just clothes that I would essentially
clothes that have been gifted to you.
Yeah, exactly.
That you didn't. Yeah. And I thought, what if this character had all of the dreams that Abel has, all of the vision that he has about culture, about how to tell a story through music videos, but what if he had none of the talent? I can't imagine how frustrating that would be to him, and the darkness that it would create inside of him because he can't realize this on his own, and so it forces him to find a puppet, so to speak, and I think that's when it started to. I don't know. I think that night was when I think the character began to sort of unlock, and I'm really excited for everyone to see where this show goes, because he's a fascinating character.
Just a second. Lily-Rose, the character of a pop star, I mean, there's tons of stories about pop stars that we read everywhere. Some are totally fictional, some maybe true, I don't know. You find a way to keep a balance between what we imagine about a pop star and the reality of it. I mean, the reality that Sam is presenting, the work, the craziness, the desperation, this character is always in kind of a very, very thin line. How do you manage to get this balance? How do you manage to find a way to tell a character that is as much in our imagination as it is in real life?
I mean, I think something that's interesting about, pop stars or just, celebrities in general, people that are very watched and looked at all the time, and that we imagine that we know. We imagine that we know, way more about them than we actually do. I think that's something that was really interesting about exploring a character of that kind was thinking about what is going on inside her head, what's going on inside the psyche of somebody who is so watched but not really seen, and what does her time look like when she's alone, and what does it look like when she unravels, and when she does that privately or publicly, like what is the effect of that kind of lifestyle, of that kind of feeling of being surrounded constantly, even if you're in your private spaces. And so, yeah, I think that's something that was interesting about the character, was diving into the idea of, what is underneath the surface that we grow so attached to and imagine that we know everything just from that surface, what's lying underneath, because there's so much that's lying underneath for everybody.
Okay, we got a question right there.
Hi, Faith Orr from Arise News. My question is for Sam Levinson and Lily-Rose Depp. Sam, your treatment of female sexuality, I've seen it described as both revolutionary and taking things too far. I want to know how you decided where to draw the line, how you worked together on the scenes, and Lily, how you felt about it.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I think that sometimes things that might be revolutionary are taken too far. I think it's we live in a very sexualized world. Particularly, I mean, I can't speak to other countries because I'm not as familiar, but especially in the States. And I think the influence of pornography is really strong in terms of the psyche of, I think, young people in the States, and we see this in pop music, and how it sort of reflects, how it reflects the kind of the underbelly of the internet in some ways. I think that with this show and working with Lily, we had a lot of discussions about who she is as a person, who Jocelyn is as a person, and what she's feeling, what she's angling, who she's playing to, and and I think that's the, and I think and from that point the sort of the sexuality comes out of that character, because there's two things that happen when you have a character that has such a strong sense of self and such a strong sexual sense. Is you end up with you simultaneously end up kind of underestimating her, because you're not quite sure, well, why is she doing this? Why is she wearing this? Why is she singing about this? And at the same time, it's also what allures people. It's what attracts an audience. It's what attracts an imagination. And I think that I think it's very true to what almost every pop star is doing these days.
Yeah, I second that. And, I also think that something about Jocelyn is just that she's a born and bred performer. And I think that extends to every aspect of her life, not just her professional life. I think that the way that she dresses, for example, is her trying to tell you something all the time, or say something to the people that she's around, or express herself in some kind of way. And I also think that the occasional bareness of the character physically mirrors the bareness that we get to see emotionally in her. And that was something that I felt was really important to the character. And when it comes to all of that stuff, I've never felt more involved in those kinds of conversations. And I've never felt, across the board, whether it was with Sam and Abel and Ashley and our whole team, or our amazing costume designer, or hair and makeup and everything, I felt like I was really given the privilege of being really involved in the creation of this character, and the ins and outs of how she expresses herself from the inside out and also the outside in. And I think it says a lot about the character. That's important.
We got a question over there.
Hi, Matt Donnelly from Variety. Congratulations, everybody. I think one of the most haunting things about this show is the accuracy of the sort of industry machine around Jocelyn, managers, publicists, the corporate interests that exploit her. And there's actually direct reference in the show to Britney Spears. So I'm just curious for Lily and Sam, how much of Jocelyn might be pulled from that actual real story? And as the show continues to air, are you concerned about that fandom coming for you, as they might say? So.
Well, I mean, I think look. I was, I was a kid of the '90s, and she's one of the greatest pop stars of all time. I remember that Rolling Stone cover, and just how much it was talked about. Just, when I was in, I think middle school I believe I was in middle school at the time. And look, this is, we're not trying to tell, a story about any particular pop star. I think we're looking more at how the world perceives a pop star and the pressure that it puts on that individual. And I think that's what, it's a lot of pressure to constantly have to be on and to have to be what everyone wishes you to be. And I think that it's, I also think that it's a lonely life. Mm-hmm. And we can all pretend that, that everyone is looking out for someone's best interests, but I think fame really corrupts. And I think it's very easy to surround yourself with myth makers who just continue to prop up, all of these, they continue to, tell you, no, that was great. No, things are wonderful. Don't worry. Don't pay attention to that. Mm-hmm. And there's something that can become very, very scary about that.
I think it's also important to just say that, of course, we're not, like Sam said, we're not telling anybody else's story. There are so many incredible pop stars of our day, and of course I admire and have so much respect for them, especially, after trying to dive into the psyche of somebody who lives a lifestyle that I, personally haven't lived and everything. But I think something that we also wanted to do with the character is make her feel simultaneously like a pop star of our time, but also like she existed kind of in her own plane in a way. And we talked about a lot of other influences that are not pop stars. We talked about, Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct. We talked about Jean Tierney. We talked about Jeanne Moreau. All of these other incredible, powerful women that had a lot of influence on Jocelyn as well.
Yeah, and I also think that the reference to Britney in the pilot is more of a publicist sort of spinning and trying to draw connections and correlations so that the press will write about it kindly.
Just to follow up on this, for the other actors, how fun was it to play the entourage? And did you base your character on people you knew?
I did not base the character on anyone I knew. Thank you. No, I loved working with Sam, with everyone, and Hank and I had a lot of fun. And Lily-Rose is so wonderful in this role and such an intelligent, funny, smart individual that it made it very easy for me to get behind, oh, I produce this woman. I'm selling this. It's not hard to do. I feel like in this world today, I'm happy that we're playing these roles because I think it challenges a lot of preconceived notions about what women are about in any industry at all. So I'm really I'm so excited about this show. So
I would just add one other thing, which is one of the things that I love the most is about this show is the character of Dee and Chaim, because there are people that you meet in this business that are passionate about the people they represent and are fighting for them and deeply want to protect them. And I think having these two, and that where they're trying to manage someone who's fragile in a lot of ways, and I think, but exploring that love and kind of that maternal and paternal relationship that both Divine and Hank have to this character was also important because it's the shading of it all. Nothing exists in in the extremes. There are certain extreme characters, but they're also really. There's also really, you can meet really beautiful people in this business, and it's not all darkness,
No.
you know.
I'll just really quick, like Divine and Hank, to me, it's almost like a family dynamic where, you know, that I think a lot of people will be able to relate to. They're trying so hard to protect her, but I think often too, it's the person who, you know, in my character is maybe concerned about that, but concerned about other things, but then is also there to say she's out of control. You know, whereas someone who's codependent, which they can fall into that a little bit, you know, might be hurting them more, might be hurting her more than someone who says, what are you talking about? Kind of echoing what you were saying, Sam, about people just yes you when you're like this.
I would just add quickly that I was aware of playing, I felt very avuncular, very protective of Lily. Actually, I was always trying to throw blankets and coats over her on set. Are you cold? You must be cold. Are you cold? I asked her that a lot.
We shot in the summer, so that was good.
Which made it, I said it in character a few times too. I don't know if it ever made it in, but I was surprised in the cut because I was only ever aware of being very protective of her, very, very. But seeing it, I'm like, well, to a point, Chaim's protective of her to a point, but still her client, she's still a lot of money to him. Yeah. And if he were really being protective of her, he'd take her out of all that, which didn't even occur to me when we were shooting it. And I've seen it in real life, not in the music industry, but with actors I've been close to who really what they needed to do was stop for a while. And everybody needs to stop the train. But it didn't happen. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's also tough, too, especially for a pop star who wants to be great.
Yes.
You know, who is willing to do whatever she needs to do to reach a certain goal, even if it's an impossible goal. So it's tough for someone like Chaim to, you know, be a father figure, but also be good at his job to help her. So it's very complicated.
Yeah.
Which I think is.
Because I also think that if Chaim had told her, like, you know, now you really need to stop, I don't see any world where she would have been like, you know, you're right, I will. I just don't think it would have happened.
Yeah, and I think that's where my character comes in a very interesting way because she's constantly maneuvering and playing all the cards and spinning all the plates. And I think, you know, she knows that. So there's times, right, where my character often is like, Chaim, don't do too much, because if we do, then the child runs. If you slap the child on the wrist and say they can't have it, they're going to run right towards it. So I think we quickly, in like a kind of crisis mode, you haven't seen this part, but when we meet him, we're like, no, absolutely not. Let's, like, you know what I mean? We have to have a strategy, and the strategy is basically like I play ball, and I get close to this guy and make him feel like I'm on his side, while at the same time, what's really most important is I just need to be in the room and constantly have eyes on her. Because if I can give, like, you know what I mean, in those moments more of like, oh, the older, bigger sister type thing, but I know that she knows I need but one glance and it's a wrap and it's done. You know what I mean? So I think it's really interesting, that kind of dynamic that you have these two people that both are needed. At first I was like, how are we going to do that? But I realized, no, both are actually needed. And then I think it goes back to, which I hope people take away from this, and this is the female perspective. I think it's very important to note that what I think you will see more and more in this show is that women, in particular in these entertainment industries, people, like you said, Sam, will overlook us because of our feminine wiles and that sort of thing, and think that we're just, ditzy or whatever. But you're absolutely right. Every single outfit, everything, every image is calculated and out there. And so what my character tries to help her with is like, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. But let's stay in control of it and ahead of it, and never give them a reason to, doubt us in any way. And you'll see how the show continues to evolve. But it's actually, I just wanted to make note, it's actually extremely femme forward in such a beautiful way that is just, it's very empowering. It's not at all what you think. What y'all saw last night, no. It's way more, in the best way possible.
We can't wait. There's a question on the fourth row here.
Hello, my name is Bianca, I'm a French journalist. So my question is for Sam Levinson, Lily-Rose Depp, and the Weeknd, everyone can answer. So a Rolling Stone report talk about a chaotic, toxic shooting. So what's your reaction to those accusations? And can you describe how the shooting went? And is your intimacy coordinator still stuck in the restroom?
I just want to say that, of course, it's always, a little sad and disheartening to see mean, false things said about somebody that you really care about and that is not like that. And yeah, it wasn't reflective at all of my experience shooting the show.
Look, I think it's, we know that we're making a show that is provocative. It's not lost on us. I think, it's an odd one because in some ways that, when my wife read me the article, I looked at her and I just said, I think we're about to have the biggest show of the summer. And in terms of, the specifics of what was in it, it just felt completely foreign to me. And so I know who I am. And, I think there's two jobs in this business. There's the work, and then there's the managing of the persona. And managing a persona is not interesting to me because it takes away the time and energy that I would spend on the work. And so, they're free to write whatever they want. I think my only slight little grievance was that they intentionally omitted anything that didn't fit their narrative. But I think we've seen a lot of that lately.
Yeah.
Okay, we have time for one more question. The gentleman with a white shirt over there.
Hi, my name is Thomas Orzer. I'm a journalist from L'Essentiel in Luxembourg. First of all, congratulations for this wonderful show. I got a question for Abel. I followed your career since day one, House of Balloons, The Morning, too many memories when I lived in Toronto, like you. I watched you become a pop star. You told us that you are very different from Tedros, but did you recognize yourself somehow in the character of Jocelyn, maybe? And Jocelyn, she wants to have an evolution in her music. So what can we expect from Abel Tesfaye in the future? Thank you.
Thank you. Did I recognize myself in Jocelyn? Is that what you asked me? Yeah. A lot of Jocelyn is definitely inspired by my experiences and experiences that of other artists that I've witnessed, male, female, and almost. I feel very fortunate to have made some of the right decisions in my life. Very lucky, that I'm here. I get to do what I love with the people I love, surrounded by the people I trust. And Jocelyn is almost like an alternate reality if I had made some of the wrong choices in my life. And it's almost like me trying to, show the world or teach young artists to, make the right decisions, maybe subconsciously, I don't know. But yeah, myself is in Jocelyn, of course. I mean, and even, Chaim and Dee are loosely based on people in my life as well that are family, and that do have to deal with complicated decisions. Like I said, they want to take care of her, but also not being able to have her reach her goals is a failure for them as well too. So it's very complicated, And Sam really tapped into that. I mean, he's very observant. He writes what he knows. He writes what he sees, and watching it on the big screen, him capturing all of it is I can't even explain it. But yes, some of me is in Jocelyn, to answer your question.
Just want to add one thing.
Go ahead.
Go back to a question from earlier.
Yeah.
The process on the set was unbelievably creative. I must go on record as saying this.
Yeah.
To call it chaotic or dysfunctional would be like, going onto the set of Curb Your Enthusiasm or a Judd Apatow movie where people are improvising brilliantly and saying, "Oh, well, they must not know the lines." No. I've been on many a dysfunctional set, believe me, where pages come in late and nobody knows what they're doing, and it's quite upsetting, and the work isn't great. This was the exact opposite. And it took some getting used to as an actor. I felt challenged for the first time in many years. It kind of revitalized my joy in the filmmaking process. Truly. And a lot of that was because of the spontaneous, passionate nature of what was going on. So I understand from a distance how someone in charge of getting the pages out that day or which wardrobe was meant for who in that moment would get a little confused and not know what was going on. Sometimes I did. But that all became part of what was the joy of this thing, and it's partly why I feel some of the best work I've done in many years, so I'm very grateful to have been part of all that.
I second that 100% and feel very strongly about it also. Like, it's one of the best creative experiences I've ever had. And, Sam's a brilliant filmmaker. Like, this is a brilliant film as well. I mean, it is on film. Nobody is like, and the creative process is not. I'm just getting very upset in society these days. Like, just can we create? Can we have freedom of thought? Can things be messy before they get? That's this, and it's one of the most thrilling processes I've ever been involved with, and I'm so glad Hank brought it up.
Just one other thing to add to this. When we were gonna do this show, we knew that, we had about 4-5 weeks to write it, prep it, and start shooting. And I called Hank, who I'd worked with on Wizard of Lies. I called Divine, who I'd only seen act in a couple of things I was just blown away by, and it wasn't all on the page, and I just said, look, I know it's not on the page here just yet, but I promise you, if you take this leap of faith, if you come with us, I'm not letting anyone fall by the wayside here. We're doing this together. And I think the life and in some ways the spontaneity of it allowed for a certain sort of reality to make its way into the piece, where I'm thinking in particular of the music video sequence in episode 2, where we'd sort of set into motion like a 30 to 40 minute sequence where Jocelyn would be dancing, she'd start to break down, Destiny would come over, Jane's upset, going on about this, Hyam's trying to deal and solve the problems and triangulate, and we weren't shooting that as individual scenes. We were shooting that all at once as almost a live play. and we had 3 cameras, and I would stagger each film roll about 2 minutes away from each other, and so that the actors never had to break character. We didn't have to call cut. I could hop on a camera and I could be improvising with Lily. A camera would roll out. I jump to B camera, be waving over Hank, come, you got to deal with it. You got to talk to her. And and Hank could start, he walks up, he says, is everything okay? Is this? And it was just this, and then suddenly that camera would roll out, jump to C camera, A camera would be reloaded again, back to B camera. It created this energy that I think, and it created something I think that we see and recognize in reality television, I guess, a bit. I think that I drew a little bit from, I drew actually quite a bit from reality television in the sense that I think that's what we perceive reality as. And so I wanted it to seep in, and for those mistakes and the fumbling of dialogue and the confusion of what's going on, I wanted that to become part of this piece, because that is this business in many ways. That's the feeling that exists inside of, I think, creatives and executives, is this slight terror that it all may just go awry. And I think that's a visceral emotion to capture, and it's a hard one because you can't manicure it. You can't, it's very difficult to design that from sort of a it's a hard thing to recreate unless it feels like there is no safety net in a way. And that's what we wanted to sort of take that aspect away, and just have these things unfold in real time.
And you fucking nailed it.
Yeah, you did.
Mesdames et messieurs, just one more thing. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much.
Merci.